Good Thursday evening, everyone. This is Dorothy Boyd. Thank you for joining us. We are recording now, and this is lesson 3 in our Thinking for a Change Pacesetter series. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't turned in your point sheet from lesson 2, it is due by midnight tonight if you want to be in the running for that Facebook recognition tomorrow for our top point achievers, sales directors, and beauty consultants. Now, we do have 4 lessons, so there'll be 4 weeks of assignments. And I want you to know if you've gotten a little behind, it's okay. You've got time to catch up. And maybe if you missed lesson 1, go back and do lesson 1 and turn those point sheets in. Even though you won't get the Facebook recognition for the weekly top points, remember I'm giving prizes for, I believe it's the top 5 directors and top 10 consultants in total points over the 4 lessons. So if you want to write down that June 5th will be the drop dead deadline to turn in your point sheets for all lessons, June 5th. So that gives you plenty of time if you've got a little behind to get caught up on anything. Now, as far as anything besides point sheets you need to turn in, I'm just counting on the fact that all the auxiliary pieces are being turned into your sales director. So that way, if you have in pondered pink sheets to turn in from interviews, those go to your sales directors. Weekly plan sheets, time studies, anything like that would go to your sales director as well. All right, I've got everybody muted, but for some reason I'm hearing background noise. Let's see. I'll try that again. All right, hopefully that'll work. All right, so y'all bear with me because I'm probably going to do a little bit more reading from my notes because I have so much content to give you, and we're just going to go as far as we can tonight and, you know, pick up wherever my timer goes off. I'm just going to have to probably stop when the timer goes off and go on to the rest next week. But just as a quick review, 2 weeks ago in lesson 1, we wore the hat of being the president or the boss of our own business. And so as the president, remember, you're the decider, you're the decision maker. And then last week we wore the secretary's hat. The secretary is the documenter. If the president is the decision maker, the secretary is the documenter. And you'll recall that I shared with you that many of those administrative tasks can be delegated, in fact should be delegated if not automated. Because while those secretarial type tasks must be done in order to have a sustainable business, most of that administrative type task work is really minimum wage job activity. And your time and your energy, because you're a people person and you're a beauty consultant, needs to be devoted to the highly profitable activities. Okay, for some reason, I'm still hearing background, so let me try muting everybody again. All right, here we go. It's telling me that current and new people will be muted, but I think when new people are coming in, they're not coming in on mute. So we'll just deal with the technological glitch as it happens. Okay. So just as I was saying, most of that administrative work is minimum wage activity, and I don't think y'all came into Mary Kay to make minimum wage. So if you can hire your child or your babysitter or someone to do that activity for you, some of you may even have a spouse who's willing to do some of that activity, maybe while he's running errands and so forth, great, because that frees you up to do the people work. And as someone who loves task work and being an introvert, I gravitate to task work, not people work. People work is outside my comfort zone. The task work is very much in my comfort zone. I could have been somebody's great secretary, let me tell you. I've had to fight this through my whole career to say, Dorothy, if someone else can do this, you don't need to be doing it. Delegate this out and you focus on the people work. Because to continue to creatively avoid the people work, because subconsciously or maybe even consciously, we're reluctant to face the potential rejection that might go along with that. And so we can easily creatively avoid that with busy work, right? But the problem with that is it puts a low profitability lid on our business. And so, come on, people. We want to have high profitability, right? Raise your hand if you want high profitability. Of course you do. Of course you do. So is that an understandable habit if we want to avoid rejection? Yes, it is. Is it sensible if we're doing this to make money? Not so much. All right. So we want to be growing a sustainable, successful business. So let's just in review of your, I'm going to put this back on a different kind of screen where I can see more people. If your weekly plan sheet right now is up on your fridge for the current week, raise your hand. If your weekly plan sheet's up. Good job. I do see a few hands up. Okay. How about if your weekly plan sheet is already created for next week, at least a skeleton, you've already skeletoned it in, it's probably still in your brain book, but if you've already started your weekly plan sheet for next week, raise your hand. Okay, remember we want to stay way ahead of that. So between Tuesday and Thursdays, when you want to do your weekly plan sheet, you want to see what's missing so that you got time to book it in, schedule it in before the weekend. Who put together a brain book this week and started using daily call sheets to stay organized on a daily basis? Okay, I'm seeing a few hands go up. Good, good, good. Who's in the midst of or has finished their time study already? Anybody? Okay, so a few more hands on that. Who has delegated some task work this week that the week before you probably would have done yourself, but this week you delegated it, found somebody else to do it? Baby steps. Okay, I'm going to unmute you for a second, so hopefully there's not a lot of background noise. Who wants to be brave and say how some of these simple tools have made a difference for you this week, or maybe even one of these simple tools has made a difference for you this week? Anybody?
Yes, the 30-minute or 15-minute tasks, like, you know, you're paying attention to what you're doing in every time.
Hey, Magda, I can hear you. Can you say that again?
I'm sorry, I'm driving, but what I was saying is that, you know, I'm paying attention how much everything takes. Like, is it 15 minutes? How am I using my time when I have my high energy? 15 minutes, this would take 30 minutes, this thing would take an hour, and of course, self-care is important for me. I gotta do an hour of every day, and, you know, playtime as well.
Okay, so it sounds like you're being very mindful of how long it takes to do things and making sure that you're scheduling in self-care time as well.
Right, and my power hour, which is sometimes it's like three hour power hour.
Okay, but power hour meaning the time
phone calls, booking.
Power 3 hours when you're actually initiating contacts with customers. Is that right?
Yes.
Or potential customers. Great.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else want to share how using one of these tools has made a difference for them this week?
Yeah, Dorothy, can you hear me?
Yeah, who is that?
Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
I discovered that I spend even more time driving than I thought I did. I sometimes make phone calls when I drive, audiobooks, but I had kind of gotten out of the audio, and I need to get back in that habit because a whole lot of time that I'm just spending listening to the radio.
Okay.
It's a lot of time, and I didn't realize it was so much time until I put it on paper.
Okay, that was an eye-opener to see. Okay, if I'm in the car this much time and I'm listening to the radio, how could this time be made more productive? You know, that's great, Melissa. Anybody else? One more, maybe? Nobody else bursting to share? I know, y'all want to be on video about as badly as I do, I can tell. Okay. Well, tonight, we're going to put on the treasurer's hat. So if the president is the decision maker and the secretary's the documenter, the treasurer's the dollars and cents gal. Okay, the dollars and cents gal. And you want to be a dollars and cents gal, not a dollars and nonsense gal, okay? Let's make sure that we're dollars and cents. And listen to me. Oh, I got to mute everybody else. Sorry. Now, I want you to pay attention because I've got a surprise for you. We're going to actually wear this hat 3 lessons, okay? I'm giving you a bonus lesson. So we're going to have this hat on tonight. We're going to have it on next Thursday. There won't be a Pacesetter on the 31st. I'll be in Rome, Italy with the NSDs that week. Woohoo! But I'm going to bring in a professional, a financial professional who is not only a professional in terms of finances and profit making from entrepreneurs, but also an expert in our business. And she's going to speak to you and teach you in a bonus night on the 7th. How about that? on June 7th. So go ahead and mark down June 7th. We're going to have a bonus Zoom 5. And so what will happen is those of you that, when you've got all your points turned in by June 5th, and then I'll get my assistant, my webmistress, to total up all the points. So on that night, June 7th, I'll actually be able to announce on the Zoom who our top 5 directors and our top 10 consultants are in points. And so let me go ahead and congratulate our number 1 consultant last week was Terry Huggins in the Paula Leggett unit with points on week 1. And our number 1 director was sales director Ruth Swank, who were the top point earners just for lesson 1. And then, of course, the runners-up were posted on Facebook. All right, so back to tonight's lesson. Hold on, got to grab my water here. Okay. Why in the world are we spending 3 times as much time on the treasurer as the president or the secretary? Well, I'll give you a 6 most important list. I thought of 6 reasons very quickly why we're spending so much time on this one, and so you can write these down. Poor money management, money mismanagement, if you will. I think they called it financial illiteracy or financial fragility on the video I gave you. It's one of the 4 most common reasons that businesses fail. It's one of the 4 most common reasons Mary Kay beauty consultants and sales directors fail. Okay, that's number 1. One of the most common reasons that entrepreneurial businesses fail is a lack of capitalization and poor money management. The second reason we're spending so much time on this is it's one of the most common reasons relationships fail. It's one of the most common reasons marriages fail. I think it is the most common reason marriages fail. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think I heard that somewhere. If you had a chance to watch the PBS video very quickly, that clip that I posted on our Facebook group this week, you will know that a study was done in 2015 asking Americans, if you had a $400 emergency today, could you cover it? Or would you have to borrow from someone or sell something in order to come up with the money? 47% of Americans 3 years ago, half of America, did not have $400 sitting in savings that they could cover an emergency on if they had to. So they would either have to borrow it from somebody or something, meaning putting it on a credit card, or they'd have to sell something to pay for it. Now, here's the 4th reason. This is kind of the biggie. 4th reason why we're going to spend so much time on this. Beauty consultants, sales directors, knowledge is power. So my goal is to empower you here. Let's call this pink financial literacy we're going to be talking about over the next 3 weeks. Pink financial literacy is power for you. I want to make sure that when that happens to you, you have a $400 emergency bill come due, come up, that you have been taught to understand that your privilege and your responsibility as a smart beauty consultant is to sell something, not borrow something. Okay? It's to sell something, not borrow something. Now remember what I said in that study. 47% of Americans don't have $400 in savings that they could pull out and use in the event of a financial emergency if it was to arise tomorrow. And so they would either have to borrow the money, meaning putting it on a credit card or borrowing it from another person, or they would have to sell something to meet that emergency. I want you to be equipped to know that your responsibility and your privilege is that you have the Mary Kay vehicle that you can sell something and come up with that money, rather than borrowing that money from your business account or your business credit card. So this is a personal emergency. And where you're going to get that $400 is you're going to go sell $1,000 worth of Mary Kay. Because when you sell $1,000 worth of retail Mary Kay, that gives you a 40% profit or $400 that you can pay yourself anytime you need to or choose to. Wouldn't it be great if the average American had your vehicle to create that cash flow anytime they need to? legally, morally, and honestly? Are you grateful? Have you thought about that? Where else can you wake up broke in the morning and at the end of the day have $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $1,000 in your hand at the end of the day, legally? We have that, okay? And so what you're going to do if you were to have that $400 emergency is say to yourself, immediately think, oh, I need to go sell 1,000. How can I sell 1,000 quickly and split it 60-40? Not, oh, I think I've got I've got $400 over here in my business account I can go get, or, oh, I've got that amount on my Mary Kay credit card. I'll just max out that card with this personal expense, okay? Just because it's sitting there, easy pickings, does not mean that it's there to solve today's personal emergency, all right? Too many people are using their business account as a second personal account, and that's not what it is, all right? My goal is to teach and inspire you to alter how you think and how you behave as it relates to your business finances. Because I know from experience that you can have absolutely anything you want from this business. So I want you to really start to think about this. You know, why did you start a Mary Kay business? Of all the things you could have done, of all the businesses you could have started, why this one? And maybe start to journal around that a little bit and go, why this one? And is that need still there? Is that why still there? And what do I want to get out of it? Because here's the deal. Whatever you want, whether it's to drive a Mary Kay career car or move up the career path and promote yourself, whether it's to go on one of those top director trips like I'm getting to go on in a couple of weeks, whether it's to become a national sales director, whether it's to have that wonderful family security retirement program. Whatever you want, beauty consultants, sales directors, you can have it. You can have anything you want, but it all hinges on you learning the skill of operating a profitable and a sustainable business. And that's not only skills, but habits. So skills and habits. The fifth reason we're going to spend so much time on this is that I have seen too many talented women in Mary Kay in my 36-year tenure, too many who could book, coach, sell, recruit, charismatic women, talented women, leave the company prematurely with their dreams unmet because of money mismanagement. And they not only left, but they left resentfully, if not bitterly. And here's the thing. My hands are not on your credit card statement. My hands are not on your checkbook statement, nor are your directors. That's your thing. Not only are our hands not on your money, you don't usually even let us know anything about it. And I understand that. Did you know people will talk about their sex life before they'll talk about their money? They will. I mean, come on, our president's a good example of that, right? Nobody's seen his tax returns yet, but we know all about his sexcapades, don't we, right? I mean, whether you're a Trump supporter or not, he's just a great kind of example of how we roll today. We don't want anybody to know what's happening with our money, do we? And to me, for a woman to want great things in Mary Kay and have our culture and have our heart and be a golden rule, God first, family second, career woman, career third, come in, get trained, get that community, start to build a team, and then undermine all that because of mismanaging the tool of money, that's just my definition of a crying shame. Don't y'all agree? Okay, don't want you to be one of those cautionary tales. So here's the sixth reason, and I'm sure I could go on, but here's the sixth reason, and I know this from personal experience. If someone has more month than money, then money is the first thing she thinks about when she gets up in the morning. It's the last thing she thinks about when she goes to bed. And so if she is that in kind of dire straits, then it's very difficult for her to go walk into a skincare party without dollar signs in her eyes. So there's lots of good reasons why we're going to spend so much time on this. All right. So just a side note. While the treasurer's job is one that can be delegated, I don't recommend it. I never have delegated it. Sometimes I hear the attitude from some of my ladies that sort of sounds like, I don't do money, my husband takes care of that. But you know, that attitude can really be hazardous to your wealth. In the first place, what happens if something happens to him? And statistics show that by the time a woman is in middle age, half of women by the time they hit 40 are single. So I think, you know, that's just something you want to take responsibility for. The PBS video called that financial illiteracy. And when you are a business owner, that's just an irresponsible attitude. I'm just going to call that what it is. You need to know how many dollars you have. You need to know how much inventory you have. You need to know where those dollars are going. You need to know what kind of return on investment you're getting on those dollars. Okay, all businesses do. All well-run businesses do. I also sometimes look out and perceive what I call head in the sand economics. Head in the sand economics is this ostrich attitude towards money, where the head is in the sand and it's like, I don't even want to think about that, much less deal with it. And if I don't think about it, then my financial issues don't exist. That kind of, again, irresponsible attitude, whether it's coming from a lack of confidence or bad experience or wherever it's coming from, unfortunately, it's a very expensive attitude. And it's probably why the Bible talks more about money than anything else. Did you know that the Bible has more verses on money than on faith? Did y'all know? Does it surprise you to know that? The parable of the talents, which is in the book of Matthew, you know, it says it all. That, you know, the one who is faithful with the resources that he has been given, and you can think of those resources as time, money, gifting and talents, the people within your circle of influence, you know, whatever your resources are. When we are faithful to steward those resources well, then God definitely will give us more. When we are not faithful with the time, the money, the people, and the gifts that we have, he's really not under any obligation to give us more. And in fact, the parable of the talent says he'll take what we have and give it to somebody else if we don't use it well. So that's my sermon for the night. And for the rest of the class, I'm going to talk in a very secular languaging, but I want you to know that for many of us, this has a spiritual component that we really do need to deal with. So here goes step one. I want everybody to write this down. Step one is how we're going to approach this. I want you to affirm a courageous, good student, good steward approach to this topic, regardless of what your confidence level is about this or your history is about this. I want you to affirm to yourself, I am courageous, I'm willing to be a good student, I'm willing to learn to be a good steward when it comes to my pink finances. All right, so just take a deep breath and repeat after me, and you can just repeat it out loud right where you are. I am intelligent. I am willing to learn. I am open-minded to new thinking and habits in this area. I am responsible. I am extremely grateful to have the Mary Kay vehicle to create cash flow at will. I am extremely grateful to have the Mary Kay vehicle to create cash flow at will. I'm not a victim of my circumstances. My past does not predict my future. My choices today predict my future. I refuse to star as the leading lady in a pink cautionary tale. I am strong, capable, and persistent. I can do hard things. And one day, my success story can inspire others. All right, any of those affirmations you need to say to yourself often this week, do so. Because remember, we move in the direction of our most dominant thought. What we think about, we bring about. Okay, here's step 2. So step 1 is we're going to affirm that we can learn and we can grow and we can get better behavior and habits in this area. Step 2 is we're going to build 2 big, strong firewalls. Build 2 big, strong firewalls. The first firewall is a mental and emotional firewall. First, you're going to build, and this is an internal inside job right here. It's important to build an internal mental and emotional firewall between yourself and money. Build a mental and emotional firewall between yourself and money. You know, we hear the word status used a lot these days, the word status. And I looked it up in the dictionary. Status is defined as the position of an individual in relation to others, especially in regard to social or professional standing. And status in the Mary Kay world and the desire for status can cause us to make some poor financial decisions sometimes. If we do not build this mental and emotional firewall, our need for status, our need for recognition, it's perhaps even an addiction to approval, can motivate us to make some decisions in the short term that feel good because we get the recognition or we get the status, but in the long term set us up, ironically, for a financial situation that diminishes our status, in fact. I'm going to say that again. If we don't build this emotional firewall, our need for status, or perhaps even our addiction to approval, can motivate us to make poor financial decisions that, ironically, in the long term, ultimately diminish our status. They diminish our state of affairs. So the first thing I want you to hear me say, and I want you to hear me say it very, very clearly. So, you know, kind of eyes on me, eyes on me. Never tie your self-esteem into your performance. Never tie your self-esteem into your place on the Mary Kay scoreboard. Never tie your self-esteem into what car you're driving, what handbag you're carrying, what dress you're wearing, whether you're wearing a director's suit or not, whether you're in a Mary Kay car or not. All of those things are simply either a measure of the pleasure that you've put into the lives of other people or a measure of your priority as it comes to money, but they don't define you as an individual. Money's just a tool. Money is just a tool. How much of it we have or don't have does not define us unless we choose to have it define us. And ladies, I've been all over this Mary Kay scoreboard. All over it and not even on it. And I'm the same girl, okay? So you cannot allow yourself to get into that habit of saying, I'm only worthwhile if I'm achieving. Because I don't care where you are on our career path, there's always some place to aspire to, grow to, all right? So you got to enjoy the journey and make smart decisions where you are. Okay. Now the other firewall, in addition to the mental and emotional one, and that's one that we all have to keep working on this side of the grave, because our society promotes status. Okay. But the other one is a physical and practical firewall. And that is between your personal finances and your business finances. You must build a physical and practical firewall between your personal finances and your business finances. And ladies, this is not complicated. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. And it's very simple. It's just a matter of you saying, yes, Dorothy, I'm going to take your word for this. Okay? in our Mary Kay businesses, there are a lot of gray areas. As a matter of fact, the majority of the things that we do fall in a gray area. Our culture, the golden rule, the go give spirit, God first, family second, career third, I believe those are non-negotiable. I believe our principles that Mary Kay founded on our company on are not gray. You know, those are non-negotiable. Methods, processes, how you get there, those are going to vary. But in terms of how you structure your finances in your Mary Kay business, this is not gray. It is black and white. All right. So here's my question. And again, you can raise hands if you want to. Do you have a separate checking account with both checks and a debit card used exclusively for your Mary Kay business? Okay. If so, raise your hand. Okay. Preferably at a separate banking institution. Completely different bank. Okay, good job, good job. Why do you want it at a separate bank? Because then that way you can't easily transfer funds from one account to another. That transfer button is a no-no. All right. Do you have separate places in your wallet for personal and business cash? Meaning, and most people don't really work with cash anymore, but let's say you go and deliver product and she does pay you cash. Do you just put that in with the rest of your money, or do you fold it up and hide it from yourself somewhere? Put it in a separate place in your purse. Okay. How about a separate credit card that you use exclusively for your business, and you never put personal things on it, and you don't put business things on your personal? Okay. This is the kind of firewall I'm telling you must be built. If you could sit here at my desk, this is like a big, you know, old-fashioned computer armoire, but it still meets my needs. And there's four, I'm not sure if you can see this. Let me get my camera here, see if this will work. I'll turn it around. Does this work? Y'all see those four drawers? There's a different drawer for each bank account that I have. I have two sets of accounts. Well, I have this drawer right here, Mary Kay accounts. Okay, that drawer over there, personal account. This drawer up here, my husband's checking account. Why does he have a separate one? Because he has ADD, and he puts things on the debit card and forgets, and it drives me crazy. So after about 20 years of marriage of us sharing the same card and me getting annoyed, I finally got smart and just got him a separate account. And then we have this account, which we use exclusively for health expenses. Okay, let me put this back. So, you know, I'm managing 4 bank accounts and a savings account with each one at all times. Okay, so the business accounts are separate. And where my Mary Kay credit card is concerned, actually Melissa, my assistant, and my husband are authorized users on that card, and they have a separate card. So if I need errands run, if I need Melissa to go to the office supply store, or I need Keith to run by the post office and do something, you know, they can use my Mary Kay credit card and run errands for me. So if you have a trusted person that you're delegating to, you might let them be an authorized user and have their own card. The IRS, remember the good old Internal Revenue Service? They're the ones who require that these accounts be as far from one another as the east from the west. So this is not something that I'm just suggesting to you as a good idea. I'm telling you that as an entrepreneur, you have a responsibility to play this game the right way, all right? And to not play it the right way puts you in danger of an audit risk. And I don't think any of you want that. But you do want the wonderful tax benefits of being self-employed. So we have to play by the rules of the game here. And so here's what happens. Entrepreneurs, and I'm talking about all entrepreneurs, not just Mary Kay entrepreneurs, when we start our own business, quite often we're not that financially literate in terms of business terms. So what happens is we bring our personal financial habits, our personal habits with money, and we transfer them to our business habits without any kind of distinction. And that's what makes it hard, because 60% of entrepreneurs have no clear distinction between themselves and their business. For example, accounts at separate banks use exclusively for business. They can't see the financial lines. The financial lines are blurred. And they can't measure the health of the business, and they have no idea what they're doing with their business. So this is where you get the danger of the audit risk, and you don't feel like you're making money, because just like when you started doing the time study, it was an eye-opener and you were suddenly aware of how much time you were spending doing this, that, and the other. You don't realize where your money's going either. Do y'all follow me? It's the exact same principle. It's just a lot more expensive of an eye-opener, okay? And so a lot of entrepreneurs don't even know how to take a profit paycheck like they used to get a paycheck or a payroll check from an employer. The mindset is not separated, and the accounts haven't been separated. So tonight's education is about how to create that separation. And so here's rule number 1. You are not your business, and your business is not you, especially financially. You are not your business, and your business is not you financially. I don't know how many of you remember the old movie You've Got Mail, that old rom-com with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. Remember that? And she had the little shop around the corner, the little bookstore that her mother had opened, and now she was running it, and her mother had opened it like right at the end of World War II, and she was running this sweet, quaint little bookshop around the corner. And Tom Hanks was her business enemy, because his family owned the big old Barnes & Noble type of bookstore that was putting him out of business. And this was back in the 90s. And of course, he fell in love with her, unbeknownst to her, but he was still putting her out of business, because to him, it was just business. It wasn't personal. And to her little shop around the corner just was her heart, right? So she was reluctant to even pay him any attention. He was her enemy because it was personal, okay? And this is often true, male, female. So here's beauty consultants where you've got to grow a beard and be a man. Okay, everybody grow a beard, think like a man, look like a woman, act like a lady, think like a man, work like a dog. That's what Mary Kay taught us, okay? So you got to think like a man right here. Solution's very simple. Carve out time between now and the end of May to go open that account and apply for that separate credit card. Even if you tried for the Mary Kay credit card way back when and they turned you down, okay, now you need to apply again, okay? Maybe you'll get it this time. Or if not that one, go to creditkarma.com and see what you can get. Because you need a checking account and savings account with a debit card at one bank. And then if you can get a credit card that you can use exclusively for your business, you need that too. And you don't need to say, I need a business account. Because when you walk into your bank and say you need a business account, they're going to want to sell you fancy checks and maybe charge bigger fees, and they're expecting you to do a $50,000 deposit. No, you're opening a separate personal account. You're just going to use it for business, okay? Don't tell me you don't want to go to the trouble to open the account, or that you don't want to have to pay an extra fee. Now, come on, ladies. I know it's inconvenient to go open this account. I know it's inconvenient to open it at a different bank, but hey, isn't that kind of the point? That money needs to be inconvenient to you, because the problem is when it's convenient to you, it will get mismanaged, okay? And some expenses and responsibilities, as I said, just come with just the privilege of playing the game of being in business, all right? And I promise you, that the marvelous income tax deductions that you will be able to take, because you are separating these funds, and the IRS can see that in the highly unlikely event you do ever get audited, will pay for that little bank fee hundreds and thousands of times over. All right. Now, some of you may say, well, I don't even write checks anymore. Okay. And as far as personal finances, that's fine. If you pay everything online and you use Venmo and Cash App and all these things, you know, it's all electronic transfers, that's fine. But with your business, you do still need checks. Okay. You do need checks running a business. You've got to have a paper trail. All right. So that's number 2. Here's step number 3. It's important that we get a strong understanding of the difference between profit and wages. It's important to get a strong understanding of the difference between profit and wages. So we're going to do some screen sharing here. We're going to go over here to our Facebook group, and I posted a meme in here today that might have got you thinking or made you laugh a little bit. This is it. You've got the little guy that says, good morning. And it says, if you put bananas and money in front of monkeys, monkeys will choose bananas. Because monkeys do not know that money can buy a lot of bananas. So in reality, if you offer a job and a business to people, they will choose job because most people do not know that business or profit, think profit, can bring more money than wages. Profit's better than wages. For wages can make you a living, but profits can bring you a fortune. All right? Now, we talked about this back on lesson 1 when we talked about the difference in an employee mindset and an entrepreneurial mindset. Do y'all remember that? Okay. So, profit, the first rule of business is to turn a profit. Write that down. The first rule of business is to turn a profit. In our national area, the Boyd National Area, our area motto is Women of Excellence, Influence, and Honor. And that was inspired by the Proverbs 31 woman. I said I wasn't going to preach anymore, but I got to give you one more biblical text. If you go to the Proverbs 31 woman and you read about her, she was a businesswoman. She bought a vineyard, I think it was. She made clothes and sold them at the market. She was a businesswoman, all right? When you buy something for one price and you sell it for a higher price, the difference in the wholesale, what you bought it for, and the retail, what you sold it for, is the profit. Okay? So when we buy something for $1, we sell it for $2, we profit $1. Now, actually, there's a better way of saying that. When we buy it for $1 and sell it for $2, our business earns a profit. We don't earn a profit. Our business earns a profit. So let's rephrase that. Instead of saying, when I buy for $1 and I sell for $2, I make $1. Phrase it this way. When I buy it for $1 and sell it for $2, my business earns a profit. We haven't earned a wage yet. Our wages come later in the form of a physical paycheck that we write ourselves at the appropriate time. And the appropriate time is not usually the day that that cash comes in. Now, when I say write a check, I pulled out 2 checks that I wrote myself this week from my business account. One is for $2,000 and one is for $365.25. And so you'll see it's made out to Dorothy Boyd from Dorothy Boyd, both of them, okay? Endorsed by Dorothy Boyd. So written out of my business check, deposited into my personal paycheck. Got it? So the day you earn the profit is not the day you get the wage. The day your business earned the profit is the day the business earned the profit. The day you pay yourself a wage is going to be an appropriate time later. Now, when is that? Well, it depends on the size and health of your product inventory. It depends on when that cash is spendable, meaning if they pay it on a credit card, you know it's going to take a few days for that propay money to get processed and transferred into your account, or if she wrote you a post-dated check that you can't endorse yet, So it depends upon your inventory, and it depends upon when that cash is actually available to be used in your account. I remember as a beauty consultant for 2 years, when I was literally paying myself on my sales, I was generally writing my paycheck about 2 weeks after the weekly summary sheet reported that sale. Because I used to get so many post-dated checks, I was depositing hold and fold checks relentlessly. And so what I would do is, on my weekly accomplishment sheet, let's say I sold $1,000 that week, I would write myself a note that my take-home pay was going to be $400, but I wasn't really writing myself that check till about 10 days to 2 weeks later. And then I would circle it once it was paid. All right. So let's talk about that inventory thing for just a little bit. We're going to share screen again. I'm going to take you over to boydarea.com. If you go to the home page and you click on over here far left on new consultant training, all right, I want to show you something. If you go into the new consultant section of the site, okay, here we go. So those of you that are recruiters, whether you're in my national area or not, you're welcome to use this. It starts out with just a letter from me, some I'm a new consultant, now what types of things you can go through with them. There's about a 30-minute orientation recording from me. I love this recording by Jeannie Martin called Safety Nets, because it goes into all the different kinds of safety nets that new beauty consultants have, and it gives them a lot of security in that decision. So after they've listened to me talk for 30 minutes and they've listened to Jeannie Martin talk for about 45 minutes, then there's a couple of recordings on here about the inventory decision. One is a 53-minute audio from National Sales Director Robin Rowland that's very calm, very straightforward. It very beautifully explains inventory, the need for it, and so forth. And then you've got a video by Director Michelle Cunningham that's, you know, real high energy, and they can actually see the product. Okay. Now, in between these two, you've got this click on Ready, Set, Sell brochure. Okay, we're going to click on that. She got a Ready, Set, Sell brochure in her new consultant starter kit. And the company has recently updated the Ready, Set, Sell brochure with the time-wise 3D and the bonuses and all that. All right, so this may look familiar to y'all. Okay, how do I get to the next page on this? Let's see. Oh, scroll. I want the worksheet. So if you haven't seen the new Ready, Set, Sell brochure, here's what it looks like. It's a little more compact, but it still has this worksheet in it. And this is what I want to go over with y'all. And we'll do it together. You may not be able to see it very well. So I've got mine here that I'm going to use because I can barely read that. So when I'm talking to a new beauty consultant, we go through this worksheet together so that she can have an idea about how much inventory she wants to, or that she's going to need to have a full store. Now, if you are a brand new beauty consultant, you've only been in a month or two and you don't have any customers, then this worksheet still is viable for you. If you do have a customer base, though, you're a tenured consultant or a sales director, this is really not enough for you, because in addition to this activity that you're going to be doing that's going to draw on the inventory in the worksheet, you've also got a customer base drawing on this inventory. So we'll address that in a second, but we're going to take a little quick quiz together. So just think about where you are in your Mary Kay business now, beauty consultant or sales director. What are your Mary Kay goals? Over here it says desired monthly earnings. How much do you want to make from your Mary Kay business? Is it $1,200 or more a month, 8 to 12, 4 to 8, or 1 to 4? What do you want to earn? Okay, so write that down, what your goal is, and you're not going to have to share it. This is just for you. And then you're going to give yourself some corresponding points. If you said you wanted to earn $1,200 or more, give yourself 4 points. 800 to 1,200 is 3 points. 400 to 800 is 2 points, and 100 to 400 is 1 point. Now, if you go across from that, it asks you what you want to do from a different standpoint. It says, how many selling appointments do you want to hold? Do you want to hold 3 or more a week? If so, give yourself 4 points. 1 to 2 appointments a week, that's 3 points. 2 to 3 appointments per month, not week, 2 to 3 per month is 2 points. 1 appointment per month is 1 point. Now let's just stop right here. Based on the way you answered that, was your points number the same? 4 points and 4 points, 3 points and 3 points, 2 points and 2 points, 1 point, 1 point, or were they different? Because I'm going to tell you all a little secret. These kind of correspond across here. If you want to earn $1,200 a month, you need to be able to do 3 selling appointments a week. If you want to do 8 to 12, 1 to 2 appointments a week. 4 to 800 a month, 2 to 3 parties a month. 1 to 400 a month, 1 party a month. Y'all got it? It kind of correlates. So you might want to adjust your answer based upon what's the priority for you. How much money you want to make, or how many appointments you want to do. Okay, the next question has to do with success meetings and training. It says, I'm committed to attending success meetings each week. If so, give yourself 3 points. I'm committed to attending success meetings twice a month. Give yourself 2 points. I'm committed to attending success meetings when they fit in my schedule. 1 point. The last question says goals. And it says check all that apply. So on this one, you give yourself the points if it applies to you. And I think the first one's a no-brainer. It says, I would like to build a solid customer base. Beauty consultants, eyes on me again. If you're recruiting people that don't want to build a customer base, don't recruit them. You are better off keeping them in your customer base, letting them be a hostess, get their products free, and that way you're introduced to their friends and family, okay? Don't recruit personal use people. I think this, I would like to build a solid customer base, should be a no-brainer. Everybody should want to do that. 2 points. The next one says, I would like to earn the use of a Mary Kay career car. If that applies to you, give yourself 2 points. The next one says, I would like to become an independent sales director. If that applies to you, 2 points. The last one says, I would like to earn a little extra cash, 1 point. Now add up all of your points. Add up all of your points. And what you may not be able to see real well here down below is those points now will correspond to what size inventory would be your full store with no customer base. So if you have 13 or more points, but no customers yet, your full store is 3,600 wholesale. If you have 12 points, but no customers, it's 3,000. 11 points, but no customers is 2,400. 8 to 10 points is 1,800 wholesale. 5 to 7 points, 1,200 wholesale. 2 to 4 points, 600 wholesale. Now, if you have customers, then you need to take whatever you came up with and increase it in direct correlation to how many customers you have. All right. So how much do I increase it by? Well, probably for every 10 customers or so, 10 or 15 customers, you're going to need to increase it by another 600. All right. So now you know what your full store is and what you're working towards. All right. And we'll stop the share here for just a minute. Now, what is the value of that inventory to you? I think a good analogy for that is value of inventory is like livestock to a farmer. Now, I'm a country girl. I don't know a lot about farming, but within the last year, I've read all of James Herriot's books. I don't know how many of you have ever read those books or seen that old TV show called All Creatures Great and Small, but James Herriot was a country doctor in Yorkshire, England, country vet, not a doctor, veterinarian, country veterinarian in Yorkshire, England from the 1930s to about the 1970s. And near the end of his veterinary career, he started writing humorous, very entertaining stories of him going around to these farms and being the country vet for the livestock for all these farmers. And they're really funny and amusing, great books. He wrote 4, 5, 6 books because they were such great bestsellers. He's just like a national treasure over in England. And, you know, he's passed on now. But if you want a great read, All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. That is a pen name. Now, these subsistence farmers back then, the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, they would call the vet 24/7. He worked 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, around the clock, to go out and take care of their sick pigs, or help birth a new calf, or vaccinate their horses, and whether it was a breeding bull or a pig or a cow. Those animals gave those farmers the capacity to farm and earn a livelihood for their families. So when those farmers had a financial emergency, they certainly didn't sell the livestock, or worse, they didn't kill the livestock and eat them. And where am I going with this? Your inventory is just like that livestock. Think of it as a milking cow. You got a milking cow, and it gives you milk. And some of that milk you use in your family, but the rest of the milk you sell up at the market, and you make a profit, and then you take that money and you buy food for your family and pay rent and clothes and so forth, okay? So if you suddenly had a family emergency, would you sell the milk cow? No, you would not sell the milk cow, all right? Your inventory is just like that. It gives you the capacity to earn a living. So that if you had that $400 emergency, you could go sell $1,000 worth of Mary Kay, take $600 of it, and reorder the product that you sold, and write yourself a paycheck for $400. All right? If, on the other hand, instead of selling to get that need met, you either sold the 1,000 and spent all 1,000 on the bill and did not reinvest in inventory, that would be like shooting the cow, or going and taking your cow and loaning it out to another farmer permanently so you didn't have it anymore, or eating the cow. That would be like taking the money that's sitting there in your Mary Kay account that you're waiting to pay yourself and reinvesting in, and using it to pay a bill. Now, let me tell you, I do understand this, because over the past 31 years, my husband's had dozens of broken bones. We lost count when he'd had his 30-something broken bone. And he's had so many joint surgeries, we lost track of his surgeries somewhere in the 20s, okay? And the relentless medical bills that have chalked up due to this deteriorating bone disease that he has, and now he's already on disability, even though he's in his 50s. The amount of money that I've had to pay out relentlessly over the past 31 years that we've lived in this house could have bought and paid for this house twice. All right? Never one time did it occur to me to pay those bills out of my Mary Kay business account. Not one time. Because my Mary Kay inventory and my business account is what gives me the capacity to earn a paycheck. And this account, my business account, has almost always had a whole lot more money in it than my personal account has. Why? Because from the very beginning, 1982, when my house note was $348, and it was, you know, a big deal to pay the house note in 1982 of $348. But because I was holding 3 or 4 parties a week, I was depositing $400 to $600 into this account every week. So this account, the cash flow in this account was 2 to 3 times as much as it was in our family account. So let's go back to lesson 1, when we talked about the difference between being character-driven and emotion-driven. Do y'all remember when I talked about leadership expert John Maxwell, and he was teaching us to be character-driven rather than emotion-driven? Do y'all remember that? Okay. Another way of saying character-driven, and he told us that in order to succeed, we have to be character-driven, not emotion-driven. Another way of saying character-driven is duty-driven, or values-driven, or principle-centered. So this week, as you're doing some of your journaling, I want you to ask yourself, what are my values as they relate to time and money? What do I value? See, the two are very closely related, time management and money management. As a matter of fact, I once heard a wise person say, and this was very convicting to me when I heard it, but it's true if you think about it, that if you want to know what someone values most, what's a priority to them, don't necessarily listen to what they say. Look in two places. Look in their schedule and look in their bank statement, because that's where their true priorities will be revealed. And so just think about it. If you value, say, athletics, whether it's participating or spectating, you'll spend time and money on that. If you value having pets, you'll spend time and money on animals. Oh, I see a little doggy right there. If you value education, you're on this Zoom live because you value education. Good for you, right? So we spend time and money on things that are priorities to us, what we value. And so think about, what are my values as it relates to money? What are my values as it relates to time? And where did they come from? And start journaling about that. And thinking about, a lot of us get our values from our parents and our grandparents. And so let me tell you a little amusing story about that. And some of you may have heard this story. A guy says to his wife, how come when you fix ham, you always cut the ends off the ham? And she says, I don't know. My mama always did that. And so she calls up her mama and she says, Mama, how come we always cut the ends off our ham before we bake it? And she goes, I don't know. My mama always did that. So mama calls grandmama and says, why'd you cut the ends of the ham off before you roasted it? And she says, because my pot wasn't big enough for the ham. And I had to cut off the ends to get it to fit. So you see, the granddaughter didn't need to be cutting off the ends of her ham, and neither did the daughter, but they were just doing what mama and grandmama modeled. And a lot of times that's how we make decisions about how we're going to spend our time and money. What did mama do? What did grandmama do? What would daddy say? What would he think? All right. And so it's not that our parents were necessarily wrong, but isn't it possible that what was true or what was serving people well 75 years ago isn't serving us well today? Is that possible? And so, Madam President, I'm talking to you. When you make decisions about how you're going to steward your time and your money, are they based on fickle emotions like guilt or fear, or like, what will someone else think? Or are they based upon principles and values that you've decided on in advance when you weren't in an emotional state? Now, what I mean by that? Well, how many of you have raised teenagers? Okay, when do you talk about the birds and the bees to teenagers? Before they're in an emotional state to be tempted, right? And you talk to them about that before, and you get them to decide what their values about that are going to be. So that when that young woman's on a date, she finds herself being tempted, she just doesn't automatically give into the emotion, but she thinks back to the decision she made when she wasn't emotional. That's what I'm suggesting you do, is you decide, okay, what do I value in terms of time and money? Let me decide now. Because when I'm out in the field and I'm having a dilemma about, well, should I go do this thing for my Mary Kay business, or should I go do this errand for my mama, or should I go spend my money here, or should I save it there? You won't do it based upon an emotion, but upon a principle that will help you be character driven rather than emotion driven. So I'm suggesting that you do the same with your finances and your time as you would approach teaching your tweens about the birds and the bees. Okay, now let's look at your homework for the following week. Okay, so hold on, let me screen